This is Duke University.
Fifty to 60,000 years ago, well, we came out in more than one ways. But when we came out of Africa, sitting up in that area, the Neanderthals were right up in there, just sort of in that Fertile Crescent area and a little bit further. And so we encountered them. And the first research that came out 2010, this was David Reich out of Harvard and Green out of, I think it's California, Berkeley. And Paabo then is the one who's really been leading it up over in Berlin, Svante Paabo. And from what they saw, this was, they looked at the autosomes and mitochondrial. But what they saw then was only in that population that left Africa, encountered Neanderthals and retained, I think it's about 4%, 4.5% maximum, and then went on to go north and go east into the rest of the world. So the people that stayed in Africa then didn't have any of those markers from the Neanderthal. Well, more current research now shows some of that admixture populations that came back in. And that's what we're going to be seeing too moving forward, is this real mix of things as they understand those pathways. But yeah, so the more recent work out of Paabo's lab then, they're the ones that have the new methodology to sequence this archaic DNA as old as 43,000 years. At high resolution. So they're getting data now that's as good as data from any of our genomes. So they can really align these, scaffold these together and to look at those hypervariable regions. If you read the literature, it's HVRs, to see those areas that have changed. So it's a big chunk of that is any of the skeletal, especially the neck, through the neck and the shoulders there, and the cranial to enlarge for those allow for those changes. Another is metabolism, and there's some interesting science being done here at Duke. Greg Ray is doing a lot of that interesting genomic research on the metabolism. The scientists, the Bioinformatics Group that I worked in Minneapolis, they're the immune system. And that's highly conserved area, chromosome 6, that shows up in Neanderthals. So there's something about moving into that new environment. It was sort of a gift they gave us, perhaps, that allowed us to adapt. That's a little speculative still, but that's what they're thinking. So yeah, there's a lot I think we're going to understand. I can keep going on this. This is one of my favorite topics. Have you heard, do you know about the Denisovans? Denisovans. So this is what's really amazing. Like you said, Neanderthals we've known since, I believe it's 1859, when the first bones were really identified in Germany. So we've had a lot of skeletal remains of the Neanderthals and have understood them. And it's always been pretty much agreed, and especially recently, that they're part of the human family. Sort of a sister, a cousin, whatever. So that's connecting fossils with DNA, right? Okay, so we've got those pieces. But something happened a couple of years ago when they looked at a little finger bone. It turned out to be a female bone that came out of a cave in a Siberia region, northern Siberia. They thought it was Neanderthal, and they sequenced it. And that's in Svante Paabo's lab again, who's doing all of this archaic sequencing of DNA, archaic DNA. Totally shocked to find out it wasn't anatomical modern human, you and I. It wasn't Neanderthal, it was something completely different. So what blew everyone's mind was that they had discovered a new archaic hominid, not based on fossil remains, but fossil DNA. So now you better believe it. There's archaeologists and anthropologists going out there looking for more remains, based on the genetic piece. So what I'm waiting for this, one of the projects I'm doing at Nescent, is to get some of the analysis of the DNA from Neanderthals and Denisovans, because they've done the sequencing now, the high quality, high resolution sequencing, but now they're analyzing, what does that mean? Well, Cro-Magnon is a European term for anatomical modern humans.
Okay, it just means anatomical modern.
Yep, that went up in that northern European, Western European area. Yeah. That's me. That's my ancestors. Troublemakers.
Produced by Duke University. Online at duke.edu.